One of the big things addressing, the role issues that have, flexibility and role issues.
Because these role issues weren't getting cleared up.
So there's multiple role swaps happening from a map-to-map basis. I feel like to maximize your consistency for every player, you want to have them on the same role for every map.
Can role issues affect even the most versatile of teams? Role issues have been quoted a million times being the problem for many pro teams in Valorant, but the championship contending core of NRG have never faced that issue. After all, crashies and Victor are two of the most versatile players in the world. Take a look at how many different agents they've played throughout their careers, playing consistently on a top 5 team. So are role issues just a poor excuse to drop expensive players, or is there some basis behind that claim? To answer that question, let's take a look at NRG's first VCT Americas match against LEVIATAN. In the first map on Pearl, we see Victor playing Viper and FNS playing Skye, instead of the other way around. Now this is obviously very strange to anyone that knows these players. Victor has 31 career games on Skye and FNS has 52 career games on Viper. This is both Victor's first game playing Viper and FNS's first game playing Skye in their entire careers. We most recently saw them play Pearl at Lock-In with expected roles, and I would say they were quite successful since they beat Loud on this map. Let's take a look at some key moments in the first map and break down how role issues may have affected the outcome of the rounds. You can immediately see the implications of the role swap in the first round. Because of the role swap, we see Victor as the one holding flank and playing clutch, despite traditionally being one of the space creators for the team. FNS is now the one on site to help take space and make split-second decisions to fight for control. This is obviously a strength for NRG, and I can see why they made this change, as the main caller can directly be involved in them. We can see it pan out in this B-Link push, and although this push started out poorly, FNS saves the play by getting 3.
I don't know, man, but I will say, when FNS is fragging like that, that's a good start.
Let's take a look at this round where NRG are up 2-1, with the strong side taking A main control. They actually bought into their bonus, so are on a light buy. Carefully watch Victor's positioning throughout this round. After throwing the orb for the B main cross, he's basically trailing the play the entire round. A timing hole is created when Victor tries to catch up to his team, and NRG have nothing holding the B main push. He's got one of the only rifles into this round, and is largely inactive during this default, often not even close enough to trade anyone. You can tell he's uncomfortable with the lurk position and disjointed from the main calls. Now let's compare this to FNS on Viper, and how much more smoothly he can transition to spots where he's impactful. This is one of the key trade-offs of this role swap. FNS can call as a lurker and work smoother transitions toward executes in the mid-round. Victor is used to playing from the strong side, so he feels uncomfortable in the split position. He doesn't understand the nuances that an experienced lurker does, and he isn't the IGL, so he doesn't know how the play will necessarily develop. Eventually, when they make it onto site, Victor fights there well to secure the round, and it shows where he really feels comfortable. Again, this round showed some examples of the role trade-offs, but nothing really punished them for it yet. So let's take a look at this round when NRG are up 4-1. Again, they run a very similar default to the last round we looked at, where they start with A main control, with Victor on Viper lurking up B main. Eventually, they work into art control and split A, taking the site and planting the bomb. On the post plant, we see a very disjointed setup from NRG as a result of role issues. FNS attempts to flank from water, while Victor is still rotating into A after coming from B main. crashies also leaves the site to play his mollies from art, which is somewhat reasonable as a killjoy, but the bomb is not planted well for him. This leaves Som completely alone on site, with Artist providing some support from A main. With basically no control of the site, LEVIATAN actually retakes with KJ ult from the site itself. Way too much control is taken with Shy's KJ ult, and LEVIATAN can stick the defuse to win the round. This is a concrete example of a round where role issues caused the round to fall apart. FNS fell into his normal patterns looking for a lurk play, when he really should have stayed with the strong side near the site to take and hold control. Victor's timings and lurking decisions again looked very awkward. He basically spent the entire round rotating to A, and by the time he got there, the KJ ult pushed him out. He likely would have been even more impactful just pushing through B to distract Shy or Mazzino's attention, who were critical to the retake with KJ and Harbor utility. We see the same pattern again when NRG are up 6-3. NRG start this round with a slightly different default, taking control of both mid door and art. They definitely took this exact play from studying their match against Loud at Lock-In. Take a look at how the Harbor utility was used by Loud against them, and how they're using it in this game to take mid control against LEVIATAN. They still have the B long lurk from Victor and eventually work through art into A. They get enough control to plant the bomb, but we see FNS attempt to lurk through water again. This is really not a position for Sky to be in. NRG already has a man advantage and the bomb is planted. They just need to stabilize their post-plant positions to win the round. Artis is 17 HP after the first blood, and FNS has heal for him, but obviously can't use it if he's flanking. They would have benefited from having an extra body help them fight the fast retake. We also see Victor spending the entire round rotating into A again as well. His lurk pathing is incredibly redundant, as he clears basically the exact same things that FNS does. All NRG's site players die before their two lurkers are able to do anything. Both FNS and Victor were left alive in the clutch, but the bomb was planted for A main. This round was decided basically by a 4v3 on site, while two lurkers are way too late to help at all. We can see that when Victor played Sky on Pearl, he often stayed close to the site to fight for control, critical for the post plant. FNS's Sky looked a little bit different in these rounds, and he fell back to lurk positions that should have been meant for Victor, who was inevitably going to be late to the site anyway. I'm sure both players understand the concept of what they're supposed to do, but you can see the inexperience with the roles come through in these key rounds. A timeout is called after this round, and we can immediately see adjustments made from NRG to fix these issues. NRG walk up A main to set up for a full 5-man take. Without enough map control, the execute is obviously not going to be very complex. LEVIATAN are also smart in changing up their setup. They were able to collect good info mid and long B, where they rarely saw any pressure at since the pistol round. Now they know they just need to be prepared for an A hit, and LEVIATAN are able to get good fights while NRG flood into the site. We do see FNS use his kit well and fight for the site this time, but NRG were a bit too eager to correct this mistake and forgot to work the map tactically like they did in previous rounds. In the final round of the half, NRG run their default to work mid, which had been working very well for them the entire half. They take art control and eventually use it to transition into an A execute. This time, FNS is grouped with them to help take control of the site and heal them up for the post plant. Victor's lurk timing is also well timed for a free kill on Jet, but LEVIATAN are all prepared to fight from Flower and Secret, since they've never been punished properly on the lurk. LEVIATAN just win the fights as they're all set up and ready, and sometimes that's just all there is to it. Now, we saw NRG fix their problems within the offensive half, but they definitely threw rounds where they were leading before it was addressed. Let's see if there are any consequences of the role swap on defense. Now, in my opinion, Sky's role on defense entails 3 main things. The first is to collect information throughout the round. This one is pretty obvious. We need to know where enemies are to rotate accordingly. The second is to fight for critical areas on the map with your team. Many game plans center around control of an important area such as A main on Pearl. This is where NRG valued a lot in their game against Loud. The third is to control mid to maintain good rotation paths and make it to the main fight of the round.
Everyone else within striking distance, Finesse playing close. The dash there, and he's going to swing into it. Now, it's going to be so much more labored.
15 seconds.
This is going to be so difficult to get through. 10 seconds left, and you were able to get further up. They were able to get set up. And LEVIATAN.
Both defensive Skies look similar on this map, as it was likely just how their game plan worked out. NRG like to use Sky to aggressively push into A main early into the round. Otherwise, Sky is defaulted into one of the mid lanes to gather and control information, while being able to rotate efficiently to the main fight of the round. I would argue that both Victor and FNS's Sky need some work being more aggressive to create or join a fight before the round gets to a post-plant situation. Sky's kit is simply not amazing against full retake situations. Sky needs to either try and join the main fight or make her own with an aggressive play as a main rotator. Regardless of who ends up playing Sky, I'd like to see more of these plays where aggressive control is taken later into the round, or where Sky is running out to join the site fight rather than holding for a lurker or playing a site anchor position, which is likely what FNS is used to. Although Viper's role on defense is more straightforward as a main site anchor, you can still see certain situations where Victor lacked the nuanced knowledge which can also affect key rounds. At 11-11, NRG retake B and have good positioning to simply stick the bomb. Right before crashies finishes sticking the bomb, the Viper wall comes down and LEVIATAN are able to kill him. You can see Victor's Viper wall come up way too early while Mazzino is still planting the bomb, and his team is still stuck behind the harbor wall. Since the Viper nerf, these extra seconds on the wall are extremely important. Arguably FNS, who has more experience on Viper, would know to time his wall just a little bit better to get those extra couple seconds, which can make a world of difference. In this case, you can clearly see it made a difference, as crashies needed less than 1 more second of cover from the wall to defuse the bomb. In the end, I still think NRG is one of the most flexible teams in the world, but you can clearly see from this game that role issues still caused them to lose a couple key rounds in a close match against LEVIATAN. As a testament to how flexible they really are, you can see that NRG have already addressed their role problems in their more recent game against Sentinels. Victor is seen playing Jet instead of Sky in their Lotus comp, and it worked out great. Artis seems a little bit inexperienced on Killjoy, as you can see with this mistake deactivating his alarm bot, but I believe with time he can make it work. The best teams in the world are not only flexible, but completely comfortable with the agents they play. Tens tweeted about roles in solo queue recently, but I think it's just natural for everyone, pro players included, to be more suited towards certain types of roles and agents. Let me know what you think about role issues in the comments below. And as always, thanks for watching.